As you guys know, on Glory Days, there are times where we have a unique number of guests and times where I have hopped on here and been able to spit my brain a little bit, is what I call it, to be able to look at the current landscape of college athletics, of the NFL, NIL issues, Trinidad Chambliss, Lane Kiffin, the combine begins next week, NFL free agency. And I think I just wanted to take a chance today to dive into all of it, right? We are at a impasse of college football and what is going on in NIL and the ever-changing landscape of players having the power, coaches bouncing from schools, leaving people during playoff runs that are program history changing decisions. So to start, as we get into the NIL, something I would really want to talk about is starting at home, right? And Mike Elko and his current state of the NIL kind of address that he had today. Coach Elko came out this week and blasted the NCAA for not having a singular voice in charge of college football.
Put somebody in charge. I think it's a $1.2 billion industry with not a singular voice in charge of it. I think until we get that, we're going to continue to flounder with some of those areas. You know, what's best for the SEC isn't always what's best for the other conferences. What's best for the other conferences isn't always best for the SEC. And at some point, we're going to have somebody who's capable of making rules regarding the betterment of college football, enforcement of rules. Until we get that, I think we're all at risk of this thing not lasting like we want it to last.
If you know me, you know that that's been my biggest thing of what I've spoken about, of what college football needs. We need a Nick Saban. We need somebody who knows the ins and outs of what's going on to be a commissioner, to be a leader. The leadership void is perhaps the single biggest issue plaguing the sport. And there doesn't look to be any solution other than put this thing into the courts, tie it up in individual states, bring it to the Supreme Court, or even have President Trump come in and be like, this is what's going to happen. But somebody needs to change the landscape of what's going on with shady agents and people that are not qualified to be athletic agents advising the next wave of kids. And while they're doing that, they're also taking 15, 20, 30% and advising kids to run and chase the next bag, which, while it's changing families and while it's great and teaching young men responsibility on how to handle money, taxes, fame, fortune, and everything that comes along with it, it's doing a disservice to the development of the next generation of athletes, the next guy who wants to go to the NFL. You can commit to a school and then your loyalty is gone and you leave and go somewhere else to the highest bidder. Coaches know where they have the power. You're able to change your roster in 3 months to fill holes that you otherwise would have not been able to fill for a little bit. Quarterbacks are the hottest commodity right now, and being able to literally leave a to low tier Division I school and go to the biggest dog and change a roster and make them a national champion powerhouse overnight. And you've watched it with Indiana and what happened this year, a school that you never would have thought, a fan base that never would have thought they would have won a national championship football, did the unthinkable and went and ran the table this year. And it's because of guys like Fernando Mendoza and the people that they had on their roster to change the landscape and the history of somewhere forever. If you're a third, fourth year quarterback and you want to go to the NFL, it's better to stay in school and transfer and make more money than you would make rolling the dice in the draft. I know what Quinn Ewers said, but he missed out on money he'll never get back by transferring to another school. But I respect you, Quinn Ewers, because you chose loyalty and appreciating what you did in college to go on to the next level and make your path know whether people agree with you or call you stupid or not. In my opinion, you have my respect and admiration for taking a different path that the majority of people, if you put a poll out here, wouldn't. Prize Picks is America's #1 sports picks app. The app is just really easy to use. Just pick more or less on 2+ players to make a lineup, and that's it. Prize Picks is available in most states, and as of last week, that now includes New York. That's right, New York, Prize Picks together, finally. Football may be over, but basketball season is heating up, and tourney time is right around the corner. So use code Johnny and get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 prize picks. Use code Johnny, JOHNNY, to get in on the action. Prize picks, it's good to be right. With that being said, the newest situation we had is Trinidad Chambliss at Ole Miss. He's a perfect example. The NCAA denied his eligibility 3 times in the past 2 months. He goes to court in Mississippi. The judge rules in his favor, and now he's eligible to come back and have a great roster and a great chance to do what Ole Miss hasn't done in a long time. That's huge for them. Give him $5 million, let him play, come back, be rich, hotty toddy, and go to Ole Miss and do whatever you want it to be with more experienced leadership and a team that was good enough to get to a semifinal game this year. Which begs the question, is it healthy for college sports to have the eligibility of athletes determined by the courtrooms across America? What's the cutoff? We're watching guys be 30 years old playing their 7th, 8th year in college football because of COVID. I understand during that time and during that year that college football changed and you couldn't play games. Some conferences didn't want to. And it was just at a point where you had to do something to give guys an opportunity when you can't play games and some schools couldn't. Whether it's fair or whatever it may be, it's just part of what's happened. Now we need somebody to oversee this, somebody with experience, somebody with knowledge of how the game has worked for a long time that's willing to put in the hours to make this thing right. Because in reality, college football is a beautiful thing. There are people who love the NFL. The NFL is a great product. But to me, there's nothing better than watching young kids go out and grow and determine who they want to be in life while getting an education, making money, changing the history of their program or their family or whatever it may be. And I think you see the purest form of football in this state. Do you see the best all the time? No. But with that being said, it needs to change. And I think there's enough people standing up to the fact right now that this isn't sustainable and college sports can go away. When you look at structure of athletic departments, right? Football and men's basketball prop up the rest of the athletic departments around the country. Alabama had a great example that came out this week that they made 150 plus million and it paid for every one of every other athletic program in the department. So football is such a big thing that the money and everything that comes with it pays for so much that people don't even know. But it's the life force of school and it's the life force of sports and college athletics. From TV to the playoff, to how many teams are we going to have? How's the playoff going to look? Are we bumping the schedule up? What are we doing? But make it make sense because bowl games don't mean shit right now unless you're in the playoff. Guys aren't playing, they're in the transfer, and we're getting stuck with players that take a chance in the portal and then never play football again. What's happening to the high school athlete? How hard is it to get recruited right now if you're a 2 or 3 star like myself? Would I have ever made it to Texas A&M if the transfer portal was a thing? Really sit and think about who's getting hosed throughout the situation and who's not getting the opportunities they deserve. So athletes, if you're watching this, if you listen to me, listen to this. Be sure of who you trust in to commit to a school. Be sure of who you're listening to and advising that they have your best interest in heart. Because at times, it's better to stay at a school and work from a third string position than put yourself in a transfer portal and not get picked. Make sure your film's right. Make sure your study right. Make sure your work ethic is right to where people want to come out and pick you and fill your position and your role on a team in a gap of what they need, whether it's the top of D1 or it's bouncing around to JUCO. It's happened. It's worked for guys for years. Cam Newton went to JUCO, came back, national championship, first round pick, Super Bowl, MVP, life changes. It happens. It's up to you, and it depends on you making the right decisions now from an even earlier age.